lead actor of Apocalypto was cast after the marketing had already begun.
It was pretty interesting. The social mores, the customs.
Here I come.
The jungle nearly destroyed the production. The whole film is designed to communicate visually. You could watch it on mute and follow every beat. Number 15. Maria Isidra Hoyle, the girl who plays the diseased Oracle girl, had never seen a movie before she was cast.
Back again, so they came here.
And what did they take you in? Did they come in buses?
Mind it, as she stepped into one of the most haunting roles in the film, she didn't even know what a movie set really looked like. On top of that, she spoke Mayan, which made her presence on screen feel even more surreal and authentic. Just imagine that for a second. No acting experience, no films to borrow from, just pure raw instinct. And that's exactly why the prophecy scene hits so hard. It feels like the jungle itself opened its mouth and spoke, warning the villagers about the horror coming their way. But the Oracle Girl was just the beginning. The whole film was built around a single idea, and once you hear it, you can't unsee it. Number 14. This one is just crazy. Dean Semler explained that they mounted a spider cam at the top of a 150-foot waterfall, looked over the actor's shoulder, and then sent the camera plunging right over the edge into the waterfall itself.
It was shot on a Genesis camera, Panavision's Genesis camera, which allowed me to do a hell of a lot of stuff in a dark jungle that I couldn't have done on film.
Yeah, Nightmares Unlocked. He said they used the Panavision Genesis in a lightweight water housing, and the environment was brutal. Scorching heat at the top, much cooler conditions below, plus constant mist and the risk of water getting into everything. The waterfall shoot lasted 4 days, with cameras placed inside custom splash protection systems so the digital setup could survive the jungle. You might have noticed something else in that sequence. The film almost plays it casually. There's no slow motion, no dramatic score swell. The guy just hits the rock, and then the movie moves on. That restraint is what makes it land. Gibson trusts you to feel it without being told to. 2006 was a wild year for cinema. Does anyone else remember the energy in the room when this first played? Number 13. How do you cut a trailer for a film that barely exists yet? The early Apocalypto teaser was put together before principal photography had even started, and before Rudy Youngblood had been cast as Jaguar Paw. So guys, the movie was already being sold as an experience before its main face was even locked in.
Location scouting, huge amounts. We went to Guatemala, we went to Costa Rica.
And then Gibson turned the teaser into a private little joke by hiding a cameo of himself, bearded, standing among the dust-covered Maya. The New York Post noticed the cameo at the time, and later accounts repeated that the teaser was made before the production had fully begun. There was even a separate Mayan Academy Awards intro filmed by Gibson around the same promo period, which shows just how early he was shaping the film's mystique. Most people don't know, but Gibson built the entire teaser trailer before a single day of principal photography, before they'd even cast Jaguar Paw. He made a promo for a film that technically didn't exist yet, just to prove the concept worked.
The forest was beautiful to begin with, and there are villages built more primitively than this still today.
Number 12. Reuters reported that Farhad Safinia and Mel Gibson bonded over their shared love of movies, especially the action genre, and those conversations became the foundation of Apocalypto.
Beautiful. It's flat, so we can do all the chase stuff we want to do. We can have our actors run through it.
The move they made, strip everything back instead of piling on flashy technology or machinery. They stripped everything to the rawest possible form. A man running for his life. That simple idea explains so much about why this movie works. Apocalypto is not trying to be a history lesson or some polished costume drama. Sure, you get the sacrifice scenes, the jungle, the ancient language, and the collapse of a civilization. But at its core, it plays like a merciless survival thriller, a man running for his life. What makes that chase work on a mechanical level is how Gibson builds the hunters. These aren't faceless villains. Zero Wolf lost his son during the raid. His grief is real, and his rage is personal. He's not chasing Jaguar Paw because it's his job. He's chasing him because he needs to. That's what makes the pursuit feel like it has actual weight.
One of the first questions, do you mind wearing a prosthetic nose?
Both men have something to run toward, not just something to run from. And it seems like people catch this on rewatches more than on first viewing, but when Jaguar Paw sees the ships, he doesn't pause to wonder what they are. He doesn't look curious. He immediately looks at his family, and his body language says, "We're done here." A man who's been chased through a jungle for 2 days, who should be physically finished, and his first instinct is still to protect them. From this, number 11. This was not some decorative authenticity touch. Gibson said he wanted the dialogue in Yucatec Maya because hearing a different language would help the audience leave their own world behind and be pulled into the film, while also forcing more attention on the visuals, which he called a universal language of the heart. On top of that, the script was translated into Maya by Hilario Chicanul, who also worked as a language coach on the production, so the choice of language worked both artistically and practically. It made Apocalypto feel less like actors in costume reciting lines, and more like we had been dropped into a world that did not care whether we were ready for it. Maybe you didn't consciously notice the arc the first time, because the film is so relentlessly kinetic, you're just trying to breathe. But it's been in there from minute one. The first real piece of dialogue Jaguar Paw's father gives him is about fear. The last line Jaguar Paw says before he walks back into the jungle is about fear. Gibson just buried it under 90 minutes of people getting absolutely destroyed. There's a scene early in the film that most people laugh at and immediately forget. The village men trick Blunted into eating tapir testicles as a cure for his fertility problems. It's crude, it's funny, and the whole village piles on. But that scene exists for one reason, to show you what this world looks like when it's safe. When people have time to joke. When the worst problem anyone has is a mother-in-law demanding grandchildren. Gibson gives you that warmth deliberately, so when it's gone, you feel exactly how much was taken. Number 10. The Los Angeles Times reported early on that Gibson wanted relatively unknown actors, and later production write-ups described the casting process as stretching across 3 continents, with many of the performers needing to learn Yucatec Maya. And you know what? That decision paid off hugely. There is no celebrity filter protecting the audience here. Even later commentary on Roger Ebert's site pointed out that the unfamiliar language and cast of total unknowns made the audience feel less like spectators and more like accidental witnesses. You can see that philosophy in the casting stories too. One production anecdote says the actor playing the Mayan king was Raul Trujillo, a professional dancer and actor.
Become this character. It's like, oh my God, what is this? Is this an animal or a man? There's no work required other than to wear the costume.
That's the vibe of the whole film, and honestly, it is one of the reasons the movie feels so immersive. Number 8. Mel Gibson had an actual real-world impact while shooting the movie in Mexico. While filming in Veracruz, he went beyond lights, camera, action, and invested in the community. In October 2005, after meeting with Mexican President Vicente Fox, he pledged $1 million to help victims of Hurricane Stan. The donation went through the Rotary Club of Mexico, helping it reach the people hit hardest by the disaster. And this was not just a one-time public relations moment. Reports from the region later revealed that his contribution helped fund housing projects for low-income families in both Veracruz and San Andres Tuxtla. So instead of just dropping in, shooting an epic, and leaving, Gibson tied himself publicly to the region's recovery at a time when the scars from the storm were still very fresh. Shout out to that part of the story because a lot of people never even hear about it. Number 7. The team scouted Mexico, Guatemala, and Costa Rica, but the final production centered mostly on southern Veracruz, especially around Catemaco, because they needed a jungle that looked wild on camera while still being workable for action scenes. One production account says the jungles in Guatemala and Costa Rica were considered too dense for the kind of action filming they wanted. At the same time, later travel reporting confirms that the hero's village and many of the chase scenes were shot near Lake Catemaco, with the famous waterfall material tied to Ayapantla Falls. That matters because Apocalypto relies on nature as its driving force. The jungle had to be beautiful, dangerous, legible, and playable all at once. It was never going to be just some green place. It had to function like a hunting ground, a maze, and a camera playground at the same time. Number 6. Under all the mud, blood, and ancient world imagery, Apocalypto was also quietly making film history. The movie was shot on the Panavision Genesis, and the American Society of Cinematographers later identified it as the first digital feature reportedly nominated for an ASC Award. Their own technical history describes the Genesis as a milestone camera that helped make the move from film to digital work for top-level cinematographers, since it paired Panavision mechanics with Sony electronics and a Super 35mm sensor. To top it off, that makes Apocalypto more than just an intense chase film. It becomes one of those movies where the subject looks ancient, but the method is pointing straight into the future. Gibson was telling a story about an old civilization with one of the cameras helping push modern filmmaking into its next era.
I really love this sequence where the camera is literally moving all the time,
Yeah.
Number 5. Before the full release, Gibson screened the unfinished film in Oklahoma for mostly Native American audiences. That included screenings at the Riverwind Casino in Goldsby and Cameron University in Lawton. And yes, this next part sounds almost made up. Gibson showed up wearing a mask and a wig so he would not be recognized right away. And it's worth pointing out, the guy who plays Jaguar Paw, Rudy Youngblood, is not Mayan. He's indigenous American, with Comanche, Cree, and Yaqui heritage. Gibson screened the film for Native American audiences in Oklahoma before release, apparently wearing a mask and a wig in the back of the theater. Make of that what you will, but it tells you how seriously he took the reaction. The strategy behind the Oklahoma stop was not random either. The Los Angeles Times reported that the choice was driven partly by the state's large native population and partly by the fact that Rudy Youngblood, the film's lead, was Comanche. The campaign also included outreach to Latino and Native American communities, plus screenings and Q&As in places like Austin and Los Angeles. That turns the rollout into part of the movie's story. Gibson clearly knew Apocalypto was not a safe, ordinary studio release. He tested it first in communities that mattered symbolically, culturally, and politically, almost like he was stress testing the film before the whole country saw it. Testing the film was one thing. Releasing it just months after Gibson's scandal was something else entirely. And somehow, Apocalypto did not collapse under that pressure. It exploded. Number 4. What makes the release story of Apocalypto so unbelievable is the timing. In late July 2006, Mel Gibson was arrested on suspicion of drunk driving, and the arrest turned into a major public scandal after reports of anti-Semitic remarks made during the incident.
Mel Gibson was pulled over early Friday morning for speeding and drunk driving. It could have been a standard celebrity traffic stop.
Gibson apologized, but the damage to his reputation was immediate and massive. Nearly 5 months later, Apocalypto opened on December 8, 2006, in 2,465 theaters, earned around $14 million in its opening weekend, and finished at number 1, beating The Holiday and Blood Diamond. Trade coverage at the time called it a difficult sell because it had an unknown cast, subtitles, and brutal violence. But it still broke through and eventually reached about $121 million worldwide on a $40 million budget. That means the release itself became part of the legend. Audiences were basically walking into a comeback story that almost nobody thought would work. On paper, it should have collapsed. It came out swinging. The production budget was $40 million. It opened number 1 at the box office, beating The Holiday and Blood Diamond the same weekend, and made $121 million worldwide. That math doesn't make any sense. And yet, number 3. Apocalypto was aiming at something bigger than just a survival story set in the Maya world. Gibson and Farhad Safinia used the collapse of that civilization as a mirror for the modern world, especially environmental damage, excessive consumption, and political corruption. Gibson started with the idea of a chase
I
film.
always wanted to direct a chase film, a foot chase. People chasing you. I mean, there's something kind of primal and scary about a foot chase. In order to have a foot chase, you can't have a society where there's any kind of cars or anything like that. Otherwise, you have a car chase. But I want to film a foot chase like it's a car chase.
But the filmmakers wanted that chase to happen inside a civilization that was already rotting from within. Even the title was framed by Gibson as an unveiling or a new beginning, not just a disaster story. That is why the city in the film feels so diseased and unstable. The sacrifices are bigger, the crowds are angrier, the rulers are more desperate, and everything feels like a society trying to cure its inner collapse with more violence. So the deeper idea is not simply that one civilization fell. The deeper idea is that any civilization can collapse when fear, greed, and corruption become the system itself. It seems even more pointed when you know Gibson is a deeply publicly religious man, and he still put this scene in. He's not anti-religion, he's anti-manipulation. There's a difference, and he knows it. The priests aren't wrong that the eclipse is happening. They're just the only ones in the room who aren't afraid of it. That's all power ever is. And the screenplay makes that manipulation visible in one specific moment. When the eclipse happens, the high priest doesn't flinch. Everyone around him is terrified. He knew it was coming. He planned around it. He uses the crowd's fear as a tool in real time. And the crowd lets him, because the alternative is admitting they don't understand what's happening. Gibson doesn't editorialize. He just shows you the mechanic. That's it. That's the whole political science lesson, done in 30 seconds of screen time. And if the theories are even half right, that is probably one reason the movie still feels so unsettling now. Number 2. And that is where the great Apocalypto argument begins. Archaeologists and Maya specialists pushed back hard, saying the film mixed periods, exaggerated practices, and highlighted bloodshed while minimizing the Maya achievements in science, writing, mathematics, architecture, and calendar making.
We talked to a lot of people, archaeologists and professors, and there was a lot of reading to be done. So that was pretty interesting. The social mores, the customs, their beliefs.
National Geographic bluntly warned that the movie should not be treated as a historical document, and Richard Hansen said that it overlooked major achievements and risked presenting the Maya as little more than savage spectacle. But in the same breath, Hansen also admitted something crucial. As a chase movie, it was top-notch. He praised the sets, makeup, and costumes as remarkably accurate in many visible details.
Embroidery that they have from those times. Every single thing that you see in this movie is hand-sewn, handmade.
Rotten Tomatoes summarized the broad response as brilliantly filmed but mercilessly bloody. The Washington Post cut right to the heart of the movie by describing its central figure as a hunter who becomes the hunted and then hunts back. That tension was the reputation of Apocalypto in one sentence. And look, maybe you caught that in real time. Maybe you were the one in the theater thinking, that's not right. That's completely fair. Historians called it out. People called it out. But even the historians who were loudest about the inaccuracies admitted, as a chase movie, top-notch. And that's kind of the whole thing, isn't it? Number 1. The real secret behind Apocalypto is not a hidden production anecdote or a shocking controversy. The real secret is that nearly every major choice in the film was designed to make the pursuit feel more immediate and more unforgettable.
And he had a very good natural ability with
the camera.
intention with the camera. It's really nice.
Gibson told ABC that the project began with the desire to make the most intense chase movie possible, and Reuters' coverage of Farhad Safinia's writing process says the story grew out of a love of chase scenes and a wish to strip the genre down to its rawest form, a man running for his life. Once that idea was locked in, everything else snapped into place. The real jungle, the punishing physical locations, and the simple survival structure keep tightening the screws until the film becomes one long pulse of pursuit. That is why Apocalypto still lands with such force. Under the history debate, the controversy, and the violence, it is a chase movie made with discipline, and that is exactly why it became one of the greatest of its kind. Subscribe for more secrets that shaped your favorite movies. And if you want more hidden connections like these, check out my next video on The Time Machine.
Diabetic, uyah ta upusik alo.